In the shadowed confines of a covert military transport, Zorith, disguised as a human soldier, overheard his seatmate's icy declaration, "Today, we train to kill them before they even land." The words cut through the air, more chilling than the cold metal bench beneath him. As the transport veered into an underground complex, a shiver of dread coursed through him. This was no routine exercise. It was a rehearsal for genocide, and he was the target. Concealed beneath a flawless human guise, Zorith clutched his issued rifle with fiend confidence. His heart pounded against the human-like chest as the military vehicle descended silently into the Earth's depths. Flanked by genuine human warriors, the unforgiving metal bench offered no solace. He scanned the dimly lit faces of his unsuspecting comrades, their whispered fears about the day's enigmatic mission, blending with the hum of the engine, a somber prelude to impending chaos. On arrival, the doors of the transport opened with a hydraulic sigh, releasing the soldiers into a vast underground facility shaped like a fortress, designed for war not on this earth but against any who dared challenge it from beyond. Their boots clanged against the steel grating as they lined up with military precision. Zorith's gaze swept over the colossal hangar, its walls lined with weapons that whispered threats of death to his kind. "Listen up." Colonel Jack Harris, known for his merciless strategies against many supposed enemies, stepped forward. His eyes, sharp as knife edges, seemed to pierce through each soldier's facade, pausing ever so briefly on Zorith. "Today, we prepare for the unthinkable, an invasion not from our world, but from those who seek to conquer it." Zorith stiffened. This was not a routine drill, it was a preparation for his annihilation. Colonel Harris continued, detailing the simulated combat scenarios crafted to disable and dismantle alien biology. Zorith's biology. Each word from Harris's lips struck Zorith like a calculated assault on his resolve. As the group dispersed to gear up, Zorith's new ally, Lieutenant Mira, approached him. Her voice was low, her eyes probing. "You don't seem thrilled, rookie. First-time jitters or something more?" she asked gently, noting his earlier hesitation. "Just questioning the necessity of all this," Zorith replied, maintaining a steady voice despite the turmoil within. "Preemptive strikes against hypothetical enemies. It seems excessive." Mira's brow furrowed in thought. "Sometimes, the line between caution and paranoia is finer than we might believe," she murmured, more to herself than to him. Her words revealed a depth Zorith had not anticipated, a crack in the otherwise unyielding facade of the human military apparatus. As they donned their gear, the weight of the armor felt oppressive to Zorith. He was not merely dressing for a simulated battle. He was armoring himself against his deepest fears. Today, he would navigate a meticulously devised hell meant for beings like him. Today, he had to remain undetected. The training commenced with ruthless efficiency. Simulated artillery barrages replicated the devastating impact of human weaponry on alien shields. Chemical agents, designed to liquefy internal organs and tailored to alien physiologies, filled the air in controlled bursts. Zorith maneuvered through each scenario, feigning discomfort at the physical exertion rather than the terror of recognition. With every staged explosion, every mock casualty, Zorith felt the noose of suspicion tighten. Harris's eyes seemed omnipresent, observant, calculating. As the day drew to a close and the soldiers gathered for debriefing, Zorith's mind raced for an escape route. He needed a plan, but more urgently, he needed to survive. "Excellent work today, team," Harris commended, his voice booming over the intercom. "Remember, what you learned here could mean the difference between survival and extinction." As the others relaxed, sharing grim smiles of camaraderie, Zorith's thoughts lingered on the stars, his home, his peril, and the warning he had yet to deliver. He couldn't shake the feeling that his mission of peace was on the brink of taking a perilous turn. Zorith's muscles tensed as the training session intensified. The military base, a fortress of concrete and steel, had morphed into a simulated battlefield, designed to emulate an alien invasion. Today's drills unfolded on a terrain mimicking the rugged, rocky landscapes of distant planets. Human soldiers, their faces streaked with camouflage paint, darted between obstacles, their movements sharp and practiced. Zorath attempted to mirror their enthusiasm, but his motions were stiff, revealing his discomfort. "Keep up, newbie," Lieutenant Mira called out, her voice cutting through the roar of simulated gunfire. She was several meters ahead, her body moving with the fluid grace of a seasoned combatant. Zorath pushed himself harder, attempting to blend his alien agility with human military tactics. As they approached a narrow pass, simulated artillery boomed overhead, and Mira pulled Zorath into a shallow trench. "You're not just slow today, you're off," she whispered, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. "Are you okay?" Zorath nodded, wiping away synthetic sweat from his brow. "Just nerves," he lied smoothly, praying his voice didn't betray the underlying fear that prickled at his scales beneath the human skin suit. Mira scrutinized him a moment longer before the whistle blew, signaling the next advance. "Stick close," she instructed. They moved forward, and Zorath felt a momentary relief wash over him. However, as they navigated through the mock alien terrain, he marveled at the humans' relentless efficiency in devising weapons and strategies. Each element here was crafted to neutralize alien advantages, from the UV mines that detonated with bursts of ultraviolet light to the sonic disruptors targeting frequencies sensitive to extraterrestrial species. Upon reaching a checkpoint, Mira paused to realign their bearings. "You know, most of us enlisted thinking we'd never see action beyond simulations," she mused, her tone subdued. "But with the brass ramping up these exercises, I'm starting to wonder." Zorath regarded her, noting the flicker of doubt shadowing her otherwise composed demeanor. "Do you ever question what we're training for?" he asked cautiously, probing her allegiance without revealing his escalating doubts. Mira was silent for a moment, her gaze fixed on the holographic map flickering in her hand. "Sometimes," she admitted. "But orders are orders. Why do you ask? Do you think we might be the villains in someone else's narrative?" Zorath chuckled, a sound he had perfected in front of mirrors. "No, just thinking out loud." As they resumed the exercise, Zorath's mind raced. Each strategy he absorbed, every weapon he encountered, posed a threat not only to himself, but to his entire species. This realization constricted his chest with a frigid dread. He needed to find a way to escape, to warn his people, yet every step deeper into the human military complex seemed to entangle him further in its intricate machinery. The exercise's conclusion, as they assembled for debriefing, Colonel Harris's piercing gaze settled on Zorath. The colonel's eyes lingered just a moment too long, his suspicion nearly tangible. "Good effort out there," Harris remarked dryly, his voice edged with scrutiny. "Especially from the new recruit. Zorath, isn't it? Let's see if you can maintain this performance." As the soldiers dispersed, Zorath's heart raced not only from the physical exertion but from the stark realization that his mission teetered on a precarious edge. Every moment he spent entrenched in this environment jeopardized everything. Yet as Mira cast a concerned glance his way, he pondered whether he might have discovered an unlikely ally, or if his paranoia was merely painting false hopes. Colonel Harris observed from behind the one-way glass, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. Unaware of the intense scrutiny, Zorath continued his training exercises alongside Lieutenant Mira, his movements slightly out of sync with the human soldiers. Harris's fingers drummed a silent rhythm on the armrest of his chair, a subtle indication of his mounting unease. The day's training session was brutal, pushing the recruits to their physical and tactical limits, especially in scenarios involving alien threats. Zorath, visibly struggling, drew attention, particularly from Mira, who cast him worried glances that did not escape Harris's notice. "Something's off about that one," Harris murmured, more to himself than to Major Benson, who stood next to him, also watching Zorath intently. In the locker room, amidst the noise of showers, Mira approached Zorath discreetly. "Hey," she began quietly, making sure they were alone. You've seemed unusually distracted today. What's on your mind? Zorith tensed, feeling the water drip from his hair down his neck. He knew any misstep could compromise his disguise. Just tired, I guess, he responded, striving to keep his voice steady. These drills are more intense than anything I've experienced. Mira searched his face for a deeper truth he hoped she wouldn't perceive. It's more than just fatigue, isn't it? Every time they discuss alien physiology, you wince. If I didn't know any better, I'd think you sympathized with them. Zorith's pulse quickened, but he maintained a calm exterior. Isn't a human to feel compassion, even towards an enemy? Mira paused, then nodded slowly. Perhaps, or maybe it's just you. Back in the observation room, Harris made a decisive call. Keep a close watch on him, he instructed Benson. Round-the-clock surveillance. I want a report on his every action. As the days wore on, the scrutiny on Zorith intensified. Hidden cameras followed his every move, and microphones captured his every whisper. Despite their advanced technology, the humans found no concrete evidence. Meanwhile, Zorith, increasingly conscious of the watchful eyes, meticulously planned his escape. One evening, under the pretense of stargazing, he sat alone, his gaze ostensibly fixed on the heavens. In reality, he was surveying the perimeter, memorizing every camera placement and patrol route. He knew his time was running short. The longer he stayed, the higher the risk of being uncovered. His communicator buzzed silently in his pocket, a message from his home planet blinking on the screen. Status. Zorith typed a discreet response. Compromised soon. Preparing to extract. He recognized the urgency of the situation. If he didn't make his move soon, Harris's growing suspicions would escalate into actions from which there might be no return. The intricate dance of evasion was reaching its climax, and Zorith was acutely aware that only one of them could emerge unscathed. Under the cloak of darkness, the base transformed into a labyrinth of shadows and dimly lit corridors. Zorith's heart pounded in his ears as he darted through the maze, his alien agility giving him a slight edge in the terrestrial environment. Yet it was the human ingenuity behind the facility's design that proved to be his greatest adversary. Every corner he turned seemed anticipated, every hidden exit closely monitored. It was as if the walls themselves were complicit in the chase, silently relaying his position to the ever-encroaching security forces, led by Colonel Harris. Sector 7G now. He's heading towards the vehicle bay. Harris's voice crackled over the radio, a relentless narrator to Zorith's desperate bid for freedom. At a junction, Zorith skidded to a halt. The signage flickered uncertainly, mirroring his wavering resolve. To the left lay the hangars, a dead end in some ways but with potential for escape. To the right, back towards the barracks, surely a surer path to recapture. His breaths came out in misty bursts, each dissipating quickly in the chilly air, as fleeting as his hopes. Just as he made his choice and sprinted towards the hangars, a figure emerged from the shadows. Lieutenant Mira stood there, pistol drawn but her eyes filled with uncertainty, her stance conflicted. Zorith, she hissed, her voice low and urgent. Why run if you're innocent? Halting, Zorith faced her, his eyes glinting with a mix of fear and resolve. Because your fear of us might drive you to terrible acts, Mira. I must alert my people. Your leaders seek not merely defense, but outright annihilation. Mira's weapon wavered, her expression clouded with confusion and doubt. You're not like them, are you? You're here not merely to spy, but to understand, perhaps even to bridge our worlds. Yes, and more than that, I have come to admire your kind. But the revelations of today. Zorith let his sentence trail off, the weight of his discoveries bearing down on him. Mira looked back towards the sound of approaching footsteps, her decision hanging in the balance. Go, she finally whispered, stepping aside. Warn your people, but promise me, Zorith, strive for peace. With a nod, Zorith dashed past her, his silhouette vanishing into the hangar's depths. Behind him, Mira raised her pistol, firing several shots into the air. He's headed towards the east perimeter, she declared into her radio, deliberately sending Harris and his team on a diversion from Zorith's actual route. In the solitude of the hangar, Zorith located a small, one-man aerial drone. As the hangar doors slowly opened, revealing the starlit sky, he entered the coordinates into the system. The drone buzzed to life, lifting him into the night sky, carrying him towards the fragile hope of preventing a war. As he ascended, Mira's final words resonated with him, becoming a mantra for the uncertain future. Below him, the base diminished, and Zorith's thoughts shifted from mere survival to the crucial bridge of understanding he hoped to build, for the sake of all species involved. In the waning hours of the night, Zorith, now safely beyond the harsh white floodlights illuminating the military base, hunkered down in the shadowed crevice of a nearby ravine. His breaths came in short, controlled bursts, the disciplined silence broken only as he activated the stolen communicator with trembling hands. The device flickered to life, casting eerie blue shadows across his resolute face. "Command," he whispered, his voice a mere thread in the vast, empty darkness. "This is Scout Zorith. I have critical information regarding Earth's military capabilities and their intentions toward our species." Back at the base, the aftermath of Zorith's escape unfolded with clinical military precision. Colonel Harris, his expression a mask of contained fury, stood before a holographic map, red pinpoints marking the last known positions of the alien fugitive. Beside him, Lieutenant Mira faced a tribunal of stone-faced senior officers. Her posture was rigid, her gaze steady as she recounted the night's events. "I observed nothing unusual about the subject until his escape attempt," Mira reported. Her voice remained calm, betraying none of the inner conflict gnawing at her conscience. "His actions indicated a desperation not typical of our trainees." "And you did nothing to stop him?" pressed one of the officers, his tone as sharp as a blade. "I adhered to protocol until it was too late," Mira replied, her answer only partially truthful. She met Harris's gaze across the room, a silent challenge passing between them. His suspicion was palpable, but without concrete evidence he remained silent. Meanwhile, Zorith's message cut through the cosmos, a beacon of dire truths hurtling toward his home planet. He detailed the humans' aggressive preparations and their lethal capabilities, tailored to exploit the unique vulnerabilities of their alien physiology. Yet he also spoke of the potential for peace, highlighting humans like Mira who questioned their leaders' motives. Despite their readiness for war, there are those among them who seek peace, Zorith concluded, his message a blend of warning and hope. "We must prepare to defend ourselves but also explore avenues of diplomacy." As dawn's first light tinged the horizon with shades of gray, Zorith dismantled the communicator, ensuring no trace of his transmission remained. His heart was heavy with the burden of impending conflict, yet there was an undeniable lightness to his spirit, buoyed by having taken decisive action. At the base, as the tribunal adjourned, Mira was left with a stern admonition to remain vigilant and report any further anomalies. She walked back to her quarters, Zorith's words about peace echoing in her mind. She knew the days ahead would bring increased scrutiny and possibly retribution, but within her stirred something new, perhaps resolve or the first inklings of rebellion. Watching the sunrise from his secluded vantage point, Zorith saw the sky bloom with light as the world below awakened. He had ignited a spark, one that could either kindle the flames of war or illuminate a path to understanding. As he gazed upward at the stars, he made a silent vow to return home, to advocate for peace as a scout, a warrior, and a bridge between two worlds.